Question 1 through 3 refer to the figure below, which shows a representation of the motion of a squirrel as it runs in a straight line along a telephone wire. The letter A through E refer to the indicated times. If the graph is a graph of position versus time, so we will have position on the vertical axis and the unit will be meter, and for time I'm going to say second, and we have position going up that way, and we have to find the time where the time interval that gives the greatest speed. Speed is the magnitude of velocity, so it takes the absolute value of velocity. So despite you have negative, as long as the number is greater, then that will be the answer. So let's find the speed or the velocity first. Velocity is change in position over time. I gained 4 meters from the origin, and that took 3 seconds. So I have 4 meter, 4 over 3 meter per second from point A to point B. Point B to C, or rather point B to D, because it's the same slope. It's gonna be a negative 4 over 1 second, and same for the C to D, so I have negative 4 meter per second. From point D to E, I'm going back to the origin where I came from, so I gained 4 meter in the span of 4 seconds. So 4 over 4, you get 1 meter per second. Had it been the greatest velocity, we would have chosen A to B. However, it's asking the greatest speed, so we have to take the absolute value. So between B and D is the greatest. You have 4 versus these other two contestants. So 4 is greatest here. So answer is from B to D. Number 2, if instead the graph is a graph of velocity versus time, then the squirrel has the greatest speed at what time or during what time interval? So again, we're looking for the greatest speed, except this time the graph is changed. We have a vertical axis with velocity. So unit of velocity is meter per second. Okay. So when at point A, I just have 0 meter per second. All you have to do is just read the corresponding velocity on the y-axis. So at B, I have 4 meter per second, and at C, I have 0 meter per second. And at D, I have negative 4 meter per second, and at E, I have 0 meter per second. It's asking for the greatest speed, and I'll write this time. Speed is basically the absolute value of velocity. So it doesn't matter if you have negative or not, as long as the number is bigger. That's what matters. So we have negative 4 meter per second, so you really have to take the absolute value, and that becomes 4 meter per second in terms of speed, not the velocity, speed. So we have two identical largest speed in this graph, so the answer is both B and D. Number 3, if instead the graph is a graph of acceleration versus time, and the squirrel starts from rest, then the squirrel has the greatest speed at what time or during what time interval? Let's take a look at the graph now. So our initial velocity is 0. We have acceleration on the vertical axis. The common unit is meter per second squared. To find the velocity or the speed, it's the area under the curve, or in this case, it's the area under the line. How do I reason that out? We can start from the position, and then the speed, velocity, and the acceleration. To go from position to velocity and velocity to acceleration, you have to take the derivative. Okay? When you want to go backward, you have to take the integral. Okay? But then they also gotta give you like the initial velocity or initial position, otherwise it's not a complete question. So when you take an integral, if you have taken already a calculus 1 or AB, you notice that you're finding the area under the curve. So looking at that, we have positive acceleration from A to C. However, starting from C to D, we have a negative acceleration that can affect our velocity or our speed to be slower. So we have to stop at C to get the maximum area, meaning our velocity, speed. So the answer here is C.